Univac leads the field of electronic computing.
A little while ago, we showed you an electronic miracle, the new Philco Predictor.
Indoors or out with the new Browning movie camera.
1960s were a time of moonshots, miniskirts, and marketing madness. But for every cultural revolution, some products completely missed the mark. From bizarre gadgets to futuristic flops, these inventions promised to change the world, but instead crashed and burned. So, join us as we explore the 25 innovative products from the 1960s that failed miserably.
Introducing RCA's stereo video disc player, letting you enjoy great stereo entertainment and movies on your TV tonight.
At the close of the 1960s, RCA sought to revolutionize home entertainment with its SelectaVision video disc system, an analog format resembling vinyl records that played movies on specialized turntables. Although officially released in the early 1980s, its development began in 1969, consuming over a decade and hundreds of millions of dollars in research and development. Unlike VHS or Betamax tapes, these discs used a stylus to read video signals encoded in grooves, which proved fragile and prone to skipping. By the time it reached the market, newer, more convenient tape-based formats had already won consumer favor. Poor durability, limited capacity, just 60 minutes per side, and high production costs doomed the project. RCA's massive investment flopped, and SelectaVision was quietly discontinued by 1984. From entertainment to enterprise, after this disc-based home video experiment fizzled, what computing colossus aimed to digitize the decade?
Univac, the giant electronic brain made only by Remington Rand, takes business statistics from magnetic tape, letters, numbers, and punctuation marks.
During the height of the space race and the Cold War era of computing, the Univac 1108 emerged in 1964 as a sophisticated mainframe designed for high-level government and academic use. It featured multi-programming capabilities, real-time batch processing, and was a significant improvement over its predecessor, the Univac 1107. However, despite its technical promise, the system fell short in terms of scalability and cost efficiency compared to IBM's widely adopted System SHA-360, which was launched the same year. IBM's aggressive marketing and modular hardware made it a more appealing choice for clients. 1108, while innovative, struggled to gain meaningful market traction. Sperry Rand's Univac division failed to keep pace with the competition, and 1108 ultimately became another overlooked casualty in the mainframe wars of the 1960s.
Fine-tuning, channel selection, on-off. Here, hidden, is the push-button panel.
In an era where changing the TV channel meant standing up, Zenith introduced a space-age solution: the Space Command ultrasonic remote control. Debuting in 1965, it utilized high-frequency sound waves, inaudible to humans, to transmit commands such as volume and channel changes to the television. While it eliminated the need for batteries, a huge plus, its practicality was limited. The ultrasonic clicks often triggered unintended responses from pets, and other household noises could interfere with functionality. Additionally, the remotes were heavy and prone to mechanical wear. By the 1970s, infrared technology rendered it obsolete. Despite its futuristic allure and clever engineering, the Space Command was an awkward stepping stone on the way to more efficient remote control systems.
If you raise the flash gun, it drops it down to 1/40th. That's whether it has a bulb in or not.
Few products promised to democratize photography like the Kodak Instamatic 100, launched in 1963. Marketed as a revolutionary point-and-shoot camera, it introduced the 126 film cartridge, removing the hassle of threading film. While initially a commercial hit, its innovation was short-lived. The fixed-focus lens offered mediocre image quality, and the tiny flashbulbs were costly and inconvenient. More critically, as 35mm cameras and later digital devices advanced rapidly, the Instamatic's technology became obsolete. By the 1970s, consumers began to favor models with adjustable settings and improved results. Although it sold millions, the Instamatic 100 couldn't keep pace with shifting expectations, leaving it as a relic of rudimentary convenience, a stepping stone in the evolution of photography, but ultimately a dead-end innovation.
IBM 1401, which will begin production in Europe in early 1961, fills the gap between large IBM systems and standard punch card equipment.
At the dawn of the computer age, IBM introduced the 1401 data processing system in 1960, hoping to bridge the gap between punch card systems and electronic computing. It was one of the first computers to utilize transistors, and its variable word-length architecture was a unique feature. However, the 1401's reliance on magnetic tape rather than disk storage, its limited memory, a mere 4K characters, and slow processing speed quickly became bottlenecks. Furthermore, the introduction of IBM's System Charter 360 in 1964, with its more scalable and standardized architecture, rendered the 1401 obsolete. While it had early adoption in businesses, its long-term viability evaporated. What started as a bold leap in computing became overshadowed by its successor within just a few years.
We can push play.
Sony's CV2000 was the first attempt to bring video recording into the living room in 1965, a bold move that predated the VHS and Betamax formats. This reel-to-reel system, which used half-inch tape, allowed users to record TV shows at home, revolutionary for the time. However, despite the hype, it failed to gain traction. For starters, the CV2000 was expensive, bulky, and required manual threading of tape, making it inaccessible to the average consumer. Worse, it was incompatible with broadcast standards and other Sony systems, making sharing or archiving nearly impossible. Its limited recording time and inconsistent video quality also frustrated users. Although historically significant, the CV2000 was a commercial flop and an impractical preview of a future that Sony hadn't quite nailed yet. Home video took a bold leap, but how did communication try to go mobile? The Motorola Pageboy, launched in 1964, marked one of the earliest mass-market entries into personal communication technology. Aimed at doctors, emergency personnel, and professionals, it allowed for tone-based alerts, essentially a silent beep or buzz indicating someone was trying to reach you. But, while innovative, the Pageboy had glaring shortcomings. It could only receive signals and not send responses. Additionally, it lacked a display and relied on the user to find a nearby phone to make and receive calls, limiting its efficiency. As two-way paging and numeric readouts became standard by the 1970s, the Pageboy quickly fell behind. It opened the door to mobile communication, yes, but it limped through it and was soon replaced by smarter, more interactive devices.
Again, a little while ago, we showed you an electronic miracle, the new Philco Predicta. Well, now you're about to see something even more fantastic.
Philco's Predicta TV line, especially its final models from 1960, looked like something out of a sci-fi movie, with a detached, swiveling picture tube and atomic-age flair. Unfortunately, its futuristic aesthetic couldn't save it from glaring technical flaws. The electronics were notoriously unreliable, prone to overheating and short-circuiting. Its innovative tube placement made it difficult to repair, and the image quality lagged behind that of its competitors. Add to that a high price tag and a bulky frame that wasn't practical for most living rooms, and it's no surprise that sales plummeted. Though it found a cult following decades later for its retro design, in its own time, the Predicta's style couldn't outweigh its functional failures, making it one of the boldest but most flawed TV designs of the 1960s.
One can rock this by hand.
In 1962, Ampex, known for its pioneering role in professional audio recording, ventured into consumer luxury with the Ampex Signature Console, a colossal, all-in-one home media center. Combining an audio system, TV, radio, and reel-to-reel tape deck in a single walnut wood cabinet, it aimed to redefine domestic entertainment. However, its ambition became its downfall. The unit was astronomically priced, upwards of $30,000 in today's dollars, and too bulky for most homes. The complex integration of technologies made repairs nightmarish, and frequent breakdowns only worsened its appeal. Additionally, the arrival of compact stereo systems and modular entertainment setups made this behemoth look outdated within just a few years. The signature console may have aimed for elegance and innovation, but it landed squarely in impractical excess. From one giant console to one bedside innovation, what ticking trend never quite caught on?
Today we have another vintage item. This is a General Electric 7-4303G flip clock radio.
The ticking hands of analog clocks were about to meet their stylish match when General Electric introduced the flip clock in 1968. With numbers printed on rotating flaps that flipped down minute by minute, it captured the mid-century modern aesthetic perfectly. But looks weren't everything. The flip clock suffered from loud internal motors that buzzed and clicked constantly. Worse, the flipping mechanism often jammed, rendering the time inaccurate. Its mechanical complexity made it fragile and expensive to repair. Digital LED clocks soon entered the scene with quieter, more reliable designs and quickly pushed flip clocks into a state of novelty. While beloved by retro collectors today, GE's flip clock was a case of cool form failing to meet the demands of everyday function.
To reproduce a great recording, you need perfectly matched precision components. Zenith Natural Sound Stereo brings you such components.
Trying to be a universal music machine, the triple-speed record player of 1961 supported playback at 33 1/3, 45 and 78 RPM, appealing to households that were juggling vinyl formats. Initially, this adaptability seemed like a winning formula, but in practice, the mechanical switching mechanisms were notoriously unreliable, often failing to adjust speeds or damaging the records properly. The inclusion of 78 RPM, an increasingly obsolete format by the 60s, made the feature more gimmick than necessity. Sound quality across formats was inconsistent due to a poorly balanced tone arm and cheap cartridges. As more streamlined turntables emerged, offering better fidelity and reliability for fewer formats, consumers ditched the clunky all-in-one solution. The triple-speed record player tried to please everyone and satisfied almost no one.
You can make them all at home easily. And right now they're easier than ever to afford, because now there's a new Brownie movie camera by Kodak that costs only $29.95.
Kodak's Brownie movie cameras were once the cornerstone of home video, but by 1962, their charm had started to fade. The later Brownie 8mm models attempted to simplify filmmaking for families, offering basic controls and compact design. However, they lagged in image clarity, lacked sound capabilities, and required separate projectors for playback, an added expense and hassle. Additionally, film loading was cumbersome, often exposing rolls to light by accident. As technology rapidly advanced, companies like Bell & Howell and Canon introduced superior Super 8 models with autofocus, better lenses, and eventually sound. The Brownie, once a household name, couldn't evolve fast enough. Its 1962 models marked the beginning of its decline, as consumers demanded higher quality home movies than these aging devices could deliver.
Yes, the children stay young when you capture their voices on tape with an RCA push-button tape recorder.
At the dawn of digital data storage, magnetic tape reels in 1963 symbolized the future of computing, but their promise quickly unraveled. Used in mainframes for storing and retrieving information, these large, whirring reels were incredibly slow by today's standards and prone to stretching, tangling, or outright snapping. Their sequential access nature meant finding a single data point required rewinding or fast-forwarding yards of tape. Storage capacity was minimal, and environmental factors such as heat and humidity could compromise data integrity. Maintaining the equipment was also labor-intensive. As disk storage emerged with faster speeds and random access capabilities, tape reels became obsolete for most commercial uses. However, revolutionary in concept, magnetic tape storage proved to be a frustrating bottleneck in an era that demanded faster and more reliable computing solutions.
Wow, what's this?
It's an old TV antenna. We used to call them rabbit ears.
Rabbit ears?
Yeah, TV was free then.
No television setup in 1960s America seemed complete without a pair of chrome rabbit ears crowning the console, stretching awkwardly toward the ceiling. Despite their nostalgic image, these antennas were an exercise in frustration. Viewers often had to contort them into strange positions or wrap them in foil just to pick up a fuzzy black and white signal. A slight breeze, a slammed door, or even walking past the set could disrupt the fragile reception. With their limited range and susceptibility to interference from buildings, weather, or even vacuum cleaners, rabbit ears became a symbol of technological limitation. As cable and satellite TV gained traction in the following decades, these clunky antennas were discarded in droves, remembered more for their annoyance than for their innovation. While TVs reached for the skies, what device refused to speed up our dialing?
Before calling any number, first secure the number from your new directory. Then remove the receiver and listen for the dial tone. It sounds like this.
Just as rotary dial phones reached their design peak by 1969, their usefulness began to spiral downward. The concept had been around since the 1920s, but late-era models became increasingly outdated with the introduction of push-button, touch tone. Phones. Dialing numbers on a rotary device was time-consuming and prone to error. One slip and you'd have to start over. Emergency calls, such as 911, were painfully slow to complete. Additionally, as automated switchboards and phone banking services emerged, rotary signals, pulse dialing, became incompatible with these systems. While their mechanical charm still resonates with vintage collectors, rotary phones could not keep up with the needs of an increasingly fast-paced world. By the end of the decade, their clunky dials were seen as quaint relics of a slower era.
Okay, there we go. We got 3 hot dogs loaded, just regular length. We got the machine plugged in. Let's go.
In a decade obsessed with kitchen gadgetry, the Presto hot dogger sizzled onto countertops in 1969 with an unusual promise: cooking hot dogs using electricity and 2 metal prongs. It sounded efficient, but the results were shocking. The device electrocuted the hot dogs to heat them, resulting in an uneven, rubbery texture and a lingering odor of ozone. Worse, it posed serious safety risks. Users often received accidental shocks, and the lack of a timer led to overcooked or even burned franks. Consumer watchdogs quickly raised concerns. Despite its low cost and novelty, the hot dogger became a symbol of bizarre appliance overreach. It quietly disappeared from shelves, remembered less as a time saver and more as a dangerous culinary oddity.
For the home, has any appliance caused so much excitement? It's an upright freezer and a self-defrosting refrigerator, both in one glamorous cabinet.
When the Kelvinator Foodorama debuted in 1960, it was hailed as the Rolls-Royce of refrigerators. With side-by-side compartments for freezing and refrigeration and sleek, futuristic styling, it promised a modern kitchen revolution. But its enormous size made it impractical for most American homes, and its high cost, far more than a standard fridge, put it out of reach for the average family. Energy inefficiency and mechanical complexity led to frequent maintenance issues, frustrating owners. Despite its advanced look, the interior layout was cramped and poorly optimized for food storage. Foodorama attempted to be everything at once but ultimately became a bulky status symbol with limited practical value. It faded from popularity, outdone by smaller, cheaper, and more useful designs.
The Liberator and the Stratoliner. GE wanted me to say that right off. They're making no bones about it. They want you to know about GE ranges.
A daring attempt at kitchen efficiency, the Electro-Chef Combo Unit of 1962 aimed to fuse multiple appliances, stove, oven, and sometimes even a grill, into one sleek electric unit. In theory, it was a brilliant space saver for compact kitchens. In reality, it fell flat due to its awkward layout, unreliable heating elements, and poor build quality. Users complained about inconsistent cooking results and controls that were difficult to master. Repairs were difficult and costly, and the unit lacked modular flexibility. If one part broke, the whole system became virtually unusable. Its limited capacity also made it unsuitable for larger households. Despite its streamlined aesthetics and space-age pitch, the Electro-Chef became a cautionary tale of overcomplication disguised as innovation.
Here is the 1955 GE wall-mountable refrigerator.
Breaking from tradition, General Electric introduced the wall refrigerator in 1961 as a radical solution to free up kitchen floor space. Designed to mount directly into the wall between studs, it looked like something out of the Jetsons. However, while the idea was intriguing, the execution fell short of expectations. Installation was a nightmare, requiring structural modifications that most homes couldn't accommodate. The storage space was minimal, making it impractical for families to use. Temperature control issues, maintenance difficulties, and repair headaches further diminished its appeal. Homeowners who had it installed often regretted it, especially when remodeling. The wall refrigerator may have been ahead of its time visually, but it ultimately failed due to its limited adaptability and poor user experience. Cold storage got experimental, but how did washing dishes go compact and wrong? The Colston Compact Dishwasher of 1965 aimed to reimagine dishwashing for small households or apartments, delivering full cleaning power in a pint-sized package. While the concept of a mini dishwasher was novel, its execution proved to be ineffective. The unit had limited capacity, often holding barely enough dishes for one person. Worse, its cleaning performance was inconsistent. Users frequently had to rewash dishes by hand. The small water tank required constant refills, and the noise levels were unusually high for its size. Durability was another issue, as parts wore out quickly and replacements were hard to find. Though compact appliances would become popular decades later, the Colston Compact was a premature entry into the market and ultimately proved more frustrating than functional.
Corvair for 1965. All new international beauty from Chevrolet.
Few cars have sparked as much controversy as the Chevrolet Corvair. Launched in 1960 as GM's answer to European imports, the Corvair featured a rear-mounted, air-cooled engine and sleek, compact styling. However, its innovative design turned infamous when safety concerns took center stage. Ralph Nader's explosive 1965 book, Unsafe at Any Speed, criticized the Corvair's swing axle suspension for causing unpredictable handling and rollover risks. The vehicle lacked front stabilizers and proper crash protection, making it vulnerable in emergency maneuvers. While GM made improvements in later models, the damage to the Corvair's reputation was irreversible. Sales plummeted and production ended in 1969. Despite its bold engineering, the Corvair became an enduring symbol of automotive missteps and the growing call for consumer safety regulations.
The new Marlin by Rambler, first of the very fastbacks. Catch Marlin's style, nobody else can. Marlin Sport Fastback with stretch-out room.
Attempting to blend muscle car flair with luxury coupe comfort, the AMC Rambler Marlin debuted in 1965 with a teardrop fastback design that aimed to set it apart from its competitors. Unfortunately, that very design became its downfall. The car's awkward proportions, an overly long rear end and a high, stubby roofline, failed to resonate with performance enthusiasts or luxury buyers. It lacked the raw power of competitors like the Mustang, and was too unconventional for conservative sedan fans. Though AMC marketed it as a personal luxury car, it never found a clear audience. The Marlin survived just 3 years before being quietly discontinued in 1967. Today, it stands as a peculiar footnote in AMC's history, a bold gamble that ultimately failed to yield a return on investment.
The Subaru 360 mini sedan spells out economy in a car that's fun to own and fun to drive.
When Subaru introduced the 360 to the American market in 1968, it was Japan's first serious attempt to enter the U.S. auto market. Weighing under 1,000 pounds and equipped with a tiny 356 cubic centimeter two-stroke engine, the 360 was dubbed a people's car for its affordability and fuel efficiency. But American drivers were unimpressed. It was painfully slow, taking over 30 seconds to reach 50 miles per hour, and dangerously fragile in crashes. Consumer Reports labeled it unacceptable, citing safety concerns, poor handling, and build quality. While it had found success in Japan's K-car market, the 360 flopped in a country obsessed with size, speed, and durability. Only about 10,000 units were sold in the U.S. before it was pulled, making it a short-lived, though historic, failure. When tiny cars couldn't win on land, what vehicle drove into the water?
With a flick of a switch, it becomes a boat. It's the new Amphicar, the sports car that swims at an average of 10 miles an hour.
The Amphicar Model 770 promised drivers the best of both worlds. A car that could drive on land and cruise on water. Unveiled in 1961, the German-made vehicle may have looked quirky, but it captured the imaginations of many. It featured twin propellers at the rear and could reach 70 miles per hour on land and 7 knots in water, hence the 770 name. Yet, despite its novelty, the Amphicar was plagued with problems. It wasn't particularly good at being a car or a boat. It rusted easily, had underpowered performance, and water sealing was often unreliable, causing leaks. The price tag was high and maintenance was tricky. Fewer than 4,000 were ever sold before production ceased in 1965. It remains a beloved oddity, but an undeniable commercial flop.
Prince Philip, always thorough, had a go at driving the new baby.
British automaker Rootes Group launched the Hillman Imp in 1963 to rival the wildly successful Mini. It boasted a rear-mounted aluminum engine, fold-down rear seats, and modern styling. Initially praised for its engineering and sporty handling, the Imp quickly ran into trouble. Early models suffered from serious reliability issues, including cooling system flaws, gearbox problems, and frequent engine overheating. Compounding its woes, the Imp was assembled in a newly built Scottish plant plagued by labor unrest and quality control failures. Sales lagged, and Rootes never recovered the investment. Though improvements were made over time, the Imp couldn't shake its bad reputation. Production limped on until 1976, but its 1960s launch remains a cautionary tale of overambition, poor planning, and manufacturing missteps.